Welcome to Shadowed by Fear. Here you'll find short stories that I write in my spare time that have to do with the paranormal or the unknown. In this story, the main character is a small Pomeranian named Skittle and what he experiences when he and his owner move into a new home. How will little Skittle react to these new experiences? And what will his owner do to keep him safe? Also, guys, let me know down below in the comments what would you do in this situation? And how would you keep your fur baby safe from the unknown? Now, let's get started. The day we moved into the new house, everything felt perfect. At least, that's what I told myself. It was a great house, just big enough for Skittle to run around the rooms. It was cute hearing his little paws hitting the hardwood floors. At first, he seemed as happy as I was, sniffing around the place and exploring all the nooks and crannies like the curious little Pomeranian he is. But that first night, something changed. It started out small. Skittle's ears would perk up suddenly, his eyes fixed on the hallway leading to the bedrooms. He stood completely still, his tail frozen, a soft growl coming from him. Definitely a sound I've never heard from him before. I looked to where he was looking. There was just nothing. Shadows in the dim light. "It's okay, buddy," I said, scratching behind his ears. He leaned into my hand, but his eyes never left the hallway. Just thinking about it creeps me out. Over the next few days, things only got weirder. Skittle would wander off into empty rooms and stand in the doorway, just staring as if he expected someone to walk out at any minute. Sometimes he'd run down the hallway, only to stop dead in his tracks and start whining softly, staring into the darkness. One night, we were watching TV in the living room, and Skittle jumps off my lap, barking at the corner near the hallway door. I jumped, my heart racing. His bark was frantic, and he was looking at something I couldn't see. He lunged forward a few times, then jumped backward, like if whatever he saw was trying to grab him. "Skittle, what's wrong, baby?" I asked, kneeling down to calm him, but he just kept barking. I actually see him trembling. After a bit, he stops and looks at me with scared eyes and lets out a heart-wrenching whine. I pick him up and hold him close, whispering, "Shh, it's okay, baby. Mommy's got you." His heart was pounding. I'd never seen him act like this, and I didn't like it. As I sit down with him in my arms, I start thinking, is my house haunted? The house was quiet for now, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone. Every day felt the same, each one filled with strange behaviors from Skittle. Every time I turned around, he's staring into one corner or another with his head cocked, as if listening to something only he can hear. It was just creepy. One morning, I was making breakfast when I noticed Skittle isn't eating anymore. He just sits by the door looking down the hall again. This time, I could see he was tense, like every muscle was on edge, but at the same time, curiosity was winning. I called to him, but he doesn't move, just sits there tracking something moving in the hall. I put my coffee down as the hair in the back of my neck stands. "What do you see, baby?" I whisper, but he whimpers as he backs up slowly until he hits my leg. I can see him breathing fast. He then lets out a loud bark and scrambles backward, nails sliding on the tile as if he's trying to run away from something. I look up, but there's nothing there. But then I feel a rush of cold air, like a draft go right past me. I jump back looking around the kitchen, but nothing. I pick Skittle up and grab my phone and keys and run out of the house. I call a friend after getting into the car and tell her I'm coming over. That night, I started sleeping with the lights on. Skittle refuses to go near the hall. He even refuses to sleep in his bed. Not that I'm letting him out of my sight. Instead, he's curled up next to me catnapping. But every so often, he growls softly while looking into the shadows of the room. "Shh, it's okay, baby, I'm here," I say as I touch him to help calm him. But who am I kidding? I'm just as scared as he is. But he just looks at me with pleading eyes as if begging me to understand that there was something there, even if I didn't see it. The worst part happened a few nights later. We're laying in bed, just on the verge of sleep, when I felt something tug at the blanket by my feet, like Mom used to do when she pulled the blankets off in the morning. I sit right up with my heart in my throat, and see Skittle sitting up staring at the foot of the bed. He barks once, his fur standing on end, then whimpers as he crawls into my arms. I can feel him trembling. I hold him close, anger filling me. I look up to the foot of the bed and say as firmly as I can, "You touch my baby, and I will bring hell on earth. Now get out." In an instant, the atmosphere lightens up and I feel Skittle relax. I whisper, "Don't worry, baby. Mommy won't let anything hurt you." Question was, how do I fight something I can't see? Life in the house continued with the days being somewhat normal, but as soon as dusk hit, that's where it became unbearable. Skittle's behavior was changing even more. He'd taken to following me everywhere, staying close, almost glued to my side. If I left him alone, even for a moment, I'd come back to find him cowering in a corner, his small body shaking as he stared at something I couldn't see. One night, I was in the kitchen sorting through boxes when I hear Skittle's snails on the floor behind me. I turned to find him looking at the basement stairs. He never went near the basement door, not since the first day we'd moved in, but now he was motionless, staring at the door with a scared look on his face. "Skittle, what's wrong, baby?" I asked, moving towards him. But he didn't look up, didn't even flinch when I touched him. His eyes were locked on the small opening of the door, and then, in the silence that followed, I hear it too, a faint, almost inaudible creak, as if someone was slowly creeping up the stairs. I catch my breath and I back away, holding Skittle close to me. He whimpers softly, pressing his head against me, hiding his face. I don't know how long we stood there frozen, just listening to that awful sound. But then, all at once, it stops. The house is silent except for the kitchen clock ticking on the wall. It almost becomes suffocating. That night, I closed the basement door tight and wedged a chair under the doorknob to keep the door from opening, which, thinking back on it, what was I thinking? That's not going to stop a ghost. But still, I didn't dare go down to check. A few nights later, I woke up to Skittle whimpering at the foot of the bed. He was pacing in small frantic circles, glancing nervously at the bedroom door. As I sit up, I realized something was different. The room felt icy, like leaving a window open in the middle of winter. But the windows were shut, and the vents weren't running. It was as if the chill was coming from somewhere within. Before I could fully register the cold, I saw Skittle freeze. This time he stared at the closet door. I followed his eyes. The closet was slightly ajar, a dark sliver of space barely visible between the door and the frame. Thing is, I know I closed the door before bed. Slowly, I reach over and turn on the lamp on the nightstand so I can see the room clearer. Skittle stayed where he was, watching the closet intently. Gathering what little courage I had, I got up from the bed and crossed the room. My hand shook as I gripped the closet door. Then I yanked it open. Nothing, just my clothes, hanging in silent rows, undisturbed. I breathed out a sigh of relief, but when I turned back to Skittle, he was still trembling, his gaze shifting to the bedroom door. He gave one last low growl, then turned his head to look at me, his eyes pleading as if saying, "Mama, let's get out of here." That's when I noticed it, faint but unmistakable. A whisper, drifting through the walls. I couldn't make out the words, just a low, chilling hum of something speaking in a voice I'd never heard before. I picked Skittle up in my arms, feeling his heartbeat racing against mine, and raced out of the room. I run downstairs into the living room and sit on the couch with the TV on. Neither of us sleep that night. After weeks of Skittle's strange behavior and sleepless nights, I finally broke down and called my friend Keira. She was someone I trusted completely, the kind of person who wouldn't brush off the strange things that had been happening. When I explained everything, from Skittle's eerie reactions to the whispers at night, she didn't laugh or brush it off. Instead, she offered to come over and stay the night, just to see for herself. Keira arrived that evening with an overnight bag and a comforting smile, reassuring me that everything would be okay. Skittle greets her, but he seems more anxious than excited, circling her feet as though he didn't want her to step inside. "It's okay, buddy," she says while scratching his ears and looking at me with a worried look. She'd never seen him act this way. He leaned into her touch, but his eyes stayed fixed on the dark hallway, causing her to cock her head and squint her eyes before picking him up. As night settled in, the house felt quieter than usual, but not in a peaceful way. It was a thick, tense silence, as if the air itself was holding its breath. Skittle didn't let Keira out of his sight, following her wherever she went. I tried to relax, convincing myself that maybe things would be normal tonight with someone else in the house. By midnight, that hope was gone. Keira and I were sitting in the living room, chatting quietly, when Skittle's head snaps up. He stares at the doorway leading to the kitchen, his ears flattened back and his fur standing on end. A second later, we hear it too, a soft, shuffling sound, like footsteps dragging on the tile. Keira looks at me, her eyes wide. A nervous laugh escapes her lips. "Did you hear that?" she whispers. But before I can respond, Skittle lets out a low growl, his tiny body trembling as he moves towards the doorway. Then he yelps as his leg shoots out from under him, as if someone has grabbed it and drags him backwards. Kira's face drains. "Okay, what was that?" she says as she sweeps Skittle up in her arms, and we both run out of the room. The night went downhill from there. Keira tried to reassure me, and maybe herself for that matter, that it was just an energy in the house, one that needed to be cleared. She pulls out a bundle of sage from her bag and lights it, letting the smoke curl through the air as she whispers a quick prayer. We walk from room to room, filling each corner with the sage smoke, asking whatever in the house to leave us in peace. But as the smoke drifted through the rooms, the temperature drops. Each room feels colder than the last, and by the time we reach the living room, I could see my own breath hanging in the air. Then, out of nowhere, a loud bang shatters the silence, echoing through the house. Skittle yelps, hiding behind my legs as Keira and I stare at each other, terrified. The bang comes again, from somewhere near the bedroom. It sounded like someone was slamming a door repeatedly with an anger that seems to ripple through the walls. This isn't working," Keira whispers, clutching her sage tighter. Just then, a shadow shoots across the hallway. It was only there for a moment, a dark shape that moved impossibly fast, darting from one room to the next. But we both saw it, and Skittle's frantic barking fills the silence as he runs towards the hallway, barking and growling as if he could chase it away. We back up against the wall, frozen in place as the shadow flickers again, this time closer. Keira drops the sage, her eyes wide with fear. "Whatever you did," I whisper, clutching Skittle to my chest, "I think you made it angrier." We spent the rest of the night huddled in the living room, every creak and shadow feeling like it was closing in on us. By dawn, the house felt colder, darker, as if we disturbed something we shouldn't have. Skittle sat in my lap, whimpering softly, his eyes glued to the hallway. As I looked down at him, his tiny face filled with fear, one thought kept echoing in my mind. Whatever was in this house wasn't leaving. It had been waiting, lurking, and we had only made it stronger. By morning, there was only one clear thought in my head. I couldn't let Skittle stay in this house another night. His little heart couldn't take it, and quite honestly, neither could mine. I didn't care about the boxes still stacked in every room, or the furniture I'd carefully picked out. All I wanted was Skittle's safety, the way he used to nap without a care in the world. I looked at Keira with tears in my eyes. She hugs me tight, and as she pulls away, she doesn't ask questions, only insists that we pack quickly. So I throw together a bag with essentials, while she grabs Skittle's things and gets him ready. As I look around the house one last time, I felt a strange, watchful presence, a reminder of everything we'd endured. Clutching Skittle close, I take a deep breath, push down the fear, and walk out of the door without looking back. I didn't need closure or answers. All I needed was the peace of mind that Skittle would be safe. Moving into Keira's house felt like a fresh start, like breathing air untainted by shadows. Skittle quickly returned to his happy self, and every ounce of tension I'd felt since moving in melted away. I realized then that home isn't about walls or furniture. It's about the ones we love, keeping them safe, free from fear. Hey guys, I want to thank you for listening in. If you enjoyed today's story, be sure to let me know down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the story and its characters, as I really enjoy writing about them. I try to capture the emotions and fear that they feel in the moment, and make you take part in that feeling as well. Tell me, what would you do to keep your pet safe in uncertain situations? I, for one, would turn into a monster for my little boy. But anyway, thanks for listening in, and I'll see you in the next one.